All right, so it's an overcast day here at Miramar Beach. Fortunately, it is not too windy and not too cold. I did this watercolor about 2 weeks ago, and it inspired me to come back and try to paint this scene in oils. There's not a lot of color in this scene, and there's also not a lot of light. So those are two challenges I'll be facing. I will try to look for light where I can find it, and also look for bits of saturation as well. I'll be painting over an old 12 by 16 inch panel, and I've got my usual limited palette, plus a few extras from a previous painting, starting with a dark blue-green mixture I made using phthalo blue, cadmium yellow medium, and a bit of alizarin crimson. The goal here is to cover the panel as quickly as possible. These are distant trees. Got a mid-tone purple here I mixed using ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, and a bit of burnt sienna to gray down the mix. And I'm using a number 6 natural bristle flat to block in the painting. I decided to add some titanium white directly to the panel here to lighten up these hills. Feel like they're a bit too dark. I've got a mixture of titanium white and ultramarine blue for the distant mountains. I'd like for the blue of these distant mountains to be fairly saturated. So that's one little bit of saturation. Got a light value gray here for the sky. And at this point, I'm just trying to cover the panel, and then I'll start refining the shapes. I like painting over old paintings. It's an opportunity to experiment, and I feel like I can let go, and I'm not worried if the painting turns out or not. It's not like I'm wasting a canvas or a panel. So it sort of sets you free a bit. There's a long-standing tradition of painting over old paintings. I read that Vincent van Gogh painted over as many as 1/3 of his paintings. For the sand, I've got a mix of titanium white, yellow ochre, a bit of ultramarine blue, and a touch of cadmium yellow medium. And there's also a bit of burnt sienna in the mix. I've decided to warm up the sand in order to get some warm colors into the painting. I don't want the painting just to be all cool colors, even though that is actually what I'm seeing in this scene. For the water, I'm starting with a mix of ultramarine blue, titanium white, a bit of alizarin crimson, and then I pulled in a bit of this green mix here to kind of gray it down. In my watercolor sketch, the water was more of a blue-green, but in reality, the water is more of a purplish color, so I'm gonna go with that. And I'm leaving little bits of unpainted panel here to allow me to fill in some wave activity. I lightened up the mix with some titanium white for the wet sand here. For the whitewater, I've got titanium white, and I added a bit of cadmium yellow medium. And I figure this is another opportunity to get some warmth into the painting. I've got a wave here, and maybe one here, and another one right here. There's a bigger wave up close. Try to work spontaneously when painting waves. I don't want them to be too careful. I just load up the brush and go for it. I'll probably have little bits of white water on the wet sand as well. Adding a bit of ultramarine to the mix. I mixed up a mid-tone blue-green using phthalo blue, cadmium yellow medium, titanium white, and a bit of burnt sienna. This is for the dark portion of the breaking waves. All right, so at this point, the whole painting is blocked in. I step back about 10 feet, and I'm looking at the shapes, and I do see some things I need to change. I'd like to move this bottom wave up a little bit, and then also make this wave a little bit more horizontal. Once again, I've loaded the brush Got a mixture here of yellow ochre and titanium white, and also a touch of burnt sienna for the distant beach and sand dunes. It's another opportunity to get some warmth into the painting, so I'm exaggerating the warmth. I don't want to push the warmth to the point where it actually makes it look like a sunlit beach. All right, so now stepping back again, and I'm feeling like I want to add some light in the sky. I am seeing little bits of light and also some nice saturated blue. I've got titanium white here with a touch of burnt sienna. This is my go-to mixture for adding light to the sky. I've got a mixture of titanium white, ultramarine blue, and phthalo blue. It's an opportunity to add a bit of saturation into the painting. I think I'll add a touch of it over here as well. These distant cypress are the darkest value in the painting, so I'm reinforcing them with a warm green mixture. The tide is coming in quickly, keeping the brush loaded. I did add some titanium white for the distant trees to add some atmospheric perspective. So pushing back a little bit. I like the color and value of the mountains right here, but I feel like they get a bit dark over here. So I want to try to mix up a color and value similar to this. That seems pretty close. I did punch up the mix a bit with some dioxazine purple. Again, trying to get some color into the painting. Still using this number 6 natural bristle flat. It seems to be about the right size for this size panel. Adding some saturation to the tops of these cliffs. All right, so here's what I finished up with. This painting took about an hour and a half to complete. It was finished on site. My goals with this painting were to keep it simple and to look for bits of saturation and light. When the fog started to lift, I noticed some light in the sky in the distance over here. And I used a mixture of titanium white and cobalt teal to get that light effect. I also pushed the warmth in the sand colors, both in the foreground and also on the distant shoreline. I did keep the distant shore a little bit cooler to create a sense of depth, and I also darkened the value just slightly. I also added some bits of light to the fog up in this area here, added some sparkle to the water using a mixture of titanium white and cadmium yellow lemon, in particular in the white water in the foreground here, and then also little bits of it on the breaking waves as well. It has been a cold and foggy summer so far here in Northern California, in particular on the coast. It's foggy almost every day, but it's been an opportunity to look for bits of light and bits of color. Find that a little bit of saturation and a little bit of light goes a long way to adding some vitality to your paintings, to an otherwise gray painting. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you'd like to see some extra videos and help support the channel, there's a Patreon link down below. It's the Patreon support that helps keep me making these videos. It's much appreciated. There's also a PayPal tip jar down below, so check it out. Other than that, stay creative. I'll see you guys in the next video.